Hello everyone, today we're going to look at the null and alternative hypotheses. H sub 0, called H naught, is the null hypothesis. It's a statement about the population that's either believed to be true or is used to put forth an argument unless it can be shown to be incorrect beyond a reasonable doubt. We will explain what beyond a reasonable doubt means later. H sub A is the alternative hypothesis. It's a claim about the population that's contradictory to H naught and what we conclude when we reject H naught, again, the null hypothesis. The sample data will support one of these hypotheses. Again, HA, the alternative hypothesis, is contradictory to the null hypothesis, so one and only one of them can be true. So the sample data will support one of them. We then decide whether to reject H naught or fail to reject H naught. Note that proving H naught is not a possible option. We don't prove any of them, we either reject it or we fail to reject it. We'll be dealing with hypotheses relating to mu, the population mean. So in general, you can have a hypothesis testing about any population parameter, but we're going to stick with mu, the mean. Here are the possibilities for H naught and the alternative hypothesis HA. So H naught can be mu equals a number. The opposite of that is either mu is not equal to that number, or mu is less than that number, or mu is greater than that number. Which of these contradictory statements you choose depends on the situation and if you have any knowledge to begin with. So if one of these makes more sense than not equal to, you'll choose one of them. If you don't have any previous knowledge, you're going to choose not equal to because that's the true contradiction. Another null hypothesis could be mu is less than or equal to n. The opposite of that is mu is greater than n. And then the other choice for the null hypothesis is mu is greater than or equal to n. The opposite of that, the alternative hypothesis, is mu is less than n. Something to keep in mind, the null hypothesis always has an equal sign. It's either equals, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. And H sub A, the alternative hypothesis, never has an equal sign. It's either literally not equal to, or it's strictly less than or strictly greater than. Okay, so whatever one has an equal sign, that has to be the null hypothesis, not the alternative. How we decide on H naught and the alternative hypothesis depends on the wording of the problem and the claim we're either trying to prove or disprove. So we're going to go through some examples and determine which one is the null hypothesis and which one's the alternative hypothesis. Determine the null and alternative hypotheses for each situation. So A, we want to see if it takes fewer than 45 minutes to teach a lesson plan on average. I always start with what is the claim. So in our case, we're claiming that the population mean is less than 45, so fewer than 45 minutes. So mu is less than 45. There is no equal sign here. It's not less than or equal to 45. It's not 45 or fewer minutes. It's fewer than 45. So since there's no equal sign, this must be the alternative hypothesis. So H sub A is mu is less than 45. So notice how we're writing this. H sub A, the alternative hypothesis, colon, mu less than 45. I have a lot of people who will at some point write something like this. They'll write the alternative hypothesis is less than 45. But remember, everything is based off of mu, so we need mu in there. So HA isn't a number, it can't be less than anything. Okay. When we have mu is less than 45, there are two options for the null hypothesis. And that is supposed to be the symbol mu. We can either have mu is greater than or equal to 45, or mu is equal to 45. So if you go back and look at that table, either one of these null hypotheses has this as an alternative hypothesis. So you need to make a decision about this. And again, that really depends on the situation. Do you think that it could be strictly equal to 45? or greater than or equal to 45. So depending on the situation, one make more sense than the other. The book prefers to do a more true contradiction, so greater than or equal to 45. And I think in this case, that one makes the most sense. So I wouldn't really do mu equals 45 in this case. I would do mu is greater than or equal to 45. Okay. So let's try another one. The Quality Assurance Department for Coca-Cola periodically checks to see if the mean volume of their cans is actually 12 ounces. They're claiming that it is 12, right? They want to see, is it actually 12 ounces? That's what it says on the can. Is it true? This has an equal sign, so this must be the null hypothesis. So H sub 0 colon mu equals 12. The null hypothesis is mu equals 12. And again, you have a choice here. When it's mu equals 12 for the null hypothesis, you have a choice of mu is greater than 12, mu is less than 12, or mu is not equal to 12. And again, this depends on your preference and what you think makes more sense. I would assume that you wouldn't choose mu is greater than 12, as the 12-ounce cans typically only hold like 13 ounces or so you probably wouldn't be overfilling them. But you don't know that necessarily, so if you put mu as less than 12, you're getting rid of the fact that it could be overfilled, and you don't really want to get rid of that option. So again, I think the true contradiction of not 12 would be the way to go here. If you can make an argument for your case, you can choose any of the three. It will change your answer possibly, depending on which option you choose and depending on your sample stuff, but we'll talk about that later on. But you just have to make a decision and then stick with that decision through the rest of the process. Okay, so again, as long as you have some argument as to why you're choosing which one, then it's fine. You could have a different option than someone else. Okay, so let's try another one. Test the claim that the mean body temperature is 98.6 degrees and not less. So the claim is that the mean body temperature is 98.6 degrees. Again, that has an equal sign, so it has to be the null hypothesis. So again, H naught is mu equals 98.6, and again, that's based on the claim. The alternative hypothesis, again, when you have equal sign, you have three options. According to the wording, it makes the most sense to use less than 98.6 because that's the opposite of the claim according to the wording of the problem, and not less. So that must be the alternative hypothesis, the less than. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. But again, as long as you can argue your reasoning for why you're choosing which version of the alternative hypothesis, then it's okay. But again, it might change your overall outcome at the end, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. So, make sure you read through the section and let me know if you have any questions. Eventually, we're going to do an entire hypothesis test from start to finish, so we'll be doing more of this choosing what's the null and what's the alternative hypotheses. So we're definitely not done with this here. Okay, have a nice night.